Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for us taking a few minutes longer getting going. I had a bunch of stuff come up right at the very last second there, and we were talking some things over to get started. We're going to be a little shorter call than we might normally. I don't think I'm going to open it up for Q&A tonight, but I appreciate everybody who tuned in, everybody who's tuning in tonight, everybody who's going to listen in the future on the recording. Welcome to the Dinar Updates, Dinar Info call for tonight. I've got on here, actually just a couple of us. Got Mr. J. Loop is on here with me, and we're going to do a little conference call for some Dinar info that actually matters. Before I get going, I want to make sure I thank all of our chat copiers, our mods, our info and research people, all the people that help make Dinar Updates the site that it is. There are so many people. If I start naming them off, I promise you I'm going to forget a bunch of them, so I'm just going to say make sure that I thank every single person who helps us out on a daily basis. We couldn't do it without you guys. We are all kind of struggling to get through the tragedy of our cookies passing just a few days ago. I appreciate everybody who donated to the Our Cookie Memorial Fund. It was a huge success. Thank you so much, guys. It was just beyond belief how you guys came together. And the family already has as the beneficiary of that. We have nothing to do with that. We gained nothing or got nothing. That was purely every dime of that went directly to his family. So thank you, everybody who donated. Actually, I'm gonna go get a quick update on that because I haven't bothered to check it in a while. Almost $6,000. You guys did a fantastic job. Where are we going to start tonight? We are going to a couple things. I wanted to before things progress too much more in this whole thing. I really need to address some technical issues, and I've got Loopster is on here. He goes by Loop or Loopster, or might call him Jay once in a while. But he has some really neat information you're going to love about exchanging, what happens after there's a value change, and that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about also. Is I have some technical stuff I want to get through. If you're not on the Deuce list, Dinar Updates Currency Exchange list, we started this list a long time ago. It is on the right side of the blog. And of the Observer, there's a gray box. And I put in there some more fail-safes. So there is some more questions you have to answer. You put in your email address, your first and last name, and you put in there whatever that CAPTCHA is so that we don't have robots signing up and cluttering up our email list. Then you click Add Me. Then you're on the Deuce list. Now, if you're not getting your emails, that means you're either one of several things. It means your email server bounced you. It means you're a single opt-in only, which means you can only be emailed one time. And the problem with that is you've already been emailed one time, so you're no longer getting the email. That was your choice. One way that you can do that is try to use your email list, try to apply to the Deuce list, and it'll tell you you're already on the list and you're a single opt-in or you're opt-in only or whatever. If you do that, you can actually change that setting at that point. So if you're not sure that you're on it, go ahead and you can sign up, and it'll tell you you're opted in or you're unsubscribed or you're bounced or whatever. And if you're a single opt-in only, I think you can change that at that point. If not, you can send us an email directly, and if it says that you're a single opt-in only, then you can send us an email to duresponse@comcast.net and ask to be changed from a single opt-in to an opt-in. You want to be changed from a single opt-in to an opt-in, and we forward that to the hosting or the media company, and they have to go in there and manually change us. That's one way you can do that. The other thing that you may have to do, and I'm going to publish this on the blog and the Observer in the morning, is you may have to if you're not getting your emails, you may have to add our email server as a safe sender on your email, whoever's your email provider. That's a pretty easy task to do. If you don't know how to do it, just look up under your email provider how to add safe sender. And I'm going to have the information on both the blog and the Observer how you do that. This is critical because if there's, listen, you might think, well, I don't need it. Maybe not. But we're going to talk about this kind of stuff all night long. It's critical that you're able to get your information because we're moving into a season in this investment where it could happen any single time. It could be a day, a week, a month, we don't know. But if you haven't done these things so that you can receive the very best information, you're going to be in a panic when the time comes rather than getting your emails every day. So I'm going to publish what our email servers are so you can add them to your safe sender list with your email provider. Not hard to do, might take you 5 minutes. If I provide you with that information, you should be able to do this all on your own if your email is not coming through. Could be a couple reasons for it. You're not on the list, you're single opt-in only, or your email, they could be going to your spam folder, or your email server is blocking them all together, and you may have to add us as a safe sender. Everybody get that? Yes? Okay, standing by. Okay, Loopster. You out there?
Can you hear me now?
Yep, gotcha. You were on mute, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on mute. I started talking to nobody, so.
That's great. I love it when I do that. I'm talking for 5 minutes and the room goes, hey, are you going to start the call?
So the last time we did a news time together, a couple Sundays ago, there were some questions about the exotic currency spreads and the amount that exchanging with the amount of that spread and what that entails. And, I had a vague idea, but I really didn't have some concrete ideas. First, I would like to actually say a disclaimer, and that is that I am not a financial expert, and nor do I pretend that I am in any way, shape, or form. This information I'm going to give you is just simply the product of my research, of going out, searching things in the web, calling people, talking with them, and this is the information that I've gathered in that process.
Thank you for your diligence in that, and is duly noted that you've offered that disclaimer. So everybody heard it? Let's move on. By the way, I recall that conversation, and that was a wonderful topic for us to. We were going to do this quite a bit earlier, but we just kept getting put off for all the.
Yeah, then the Robert dying came along, so we just everything got put on the back burner. But I want to bring this back up. First of all, there are how many countries are there in the world? There is 100. There's 195, 196 if you include Taiwan.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Now, this is like from a Forex standing. Forex is the currency trading. It's a little bit different than actually going and taking physical currency. It's more of a digital currency trading, and you trade in pairs. But out of that, they have 3 classifications of currencies in there. Okay. There is
how many currencies are there? About 95 or something?
Something around that. I couldn't get a hard figure on that. I looked a couple times and I couldn't find it, and I kind of gave up on it. I can tell you that on major currencies, what's considered a major currency in Forex, there are 5.
Wow.
There's the USD, the Euro, the Yen, the British Pound, and the Swiss franc. That's it.
GBP and the franc. Cool.
Yeah, and then there is 8 minor currencies, okay, and that's going to be like the Canadian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar. It looks like the kroner, actually the Danish kroner, the Norwegian kroner, and the Swedish kroner.
Where does the Japanese yen fall again?
That is a major.
Okay.
And it's because it has to do a lot with how it's traded from and what its GDP is how a lot of the statistics are figured out. But that leaves the rest of the world's currencies in what you call exotics.
So there's roughly 80 of them.
Yeah, and exotics has nothing to do with it being foreign, being distance or anything. It has everything to do with what Day Trader brought up in one of the calls a while ago, which is liquidity. They're thinly traded on the world markets. So that is why you tend to pay a little bit more of a spread on them. And the other thing is that what we see a lot, what we see quoted a lot, like when people are saying the price of the Kuwaiti dollar is this, what you're looking at is you're looking at what's called the sell price. That is what they're willing to sell it to you for. Okay? The bank would be willing to sell it to you for. You're not going to be able to go there and get that. You're going to get that spread. You're going to get what they're willing to buy it from you for, the buy number on them. So as of today, here's some numbers. The Canadian dollar went off at a buy of 0.7078 and a sell at 0.7982. That percentage difference is an 11.32%. Okay? The Mexican peso went off at 0.04414 for a buy and a sell of 0.05027 on the sell side, or a 12.19% spread. The euro.
You would think there's more pesos traded, just raw traded, than there are Canadian dollars, but apparently not.
Yeah. Well, what's going to come into play here is that's actually what you get at the exchange windows. That's what you pay. But there's also going to be a fee that is a very, very hard to nail down fee, which is what they call a commission. And that commission fee is going to range from 2 to 10%. And that's based on the amount that you're holding, so the amount that you're bringing in. It's going to be.
And I vaguely recall what you're talking about. That several instances in the past, I can recall a local bank, and obviously not a major bank, not a bank with direct ties to anywhere, would wind up holding a foreign currency. Somebody who just got back from Venezuela, let's say, or somewhere, they go back to the bank to sell that currency back, and it's exactly what you're saying. They're going to buy it back from you at a certain rate, which is less than they sold it to you for, and then you might not get in a lot of circumstances in the past, people haven't got their money right away, and when they did, it was less that number. I remember having this conversation a couple of different times, and it was not. And this is real world. This is not. I mean, it's not guru gibberish. It just dawned on me when you started in on that topic. I thought it just hit me. That's exactly correct. I remember a couple instances. One with South America, and then one with North Africa. That just exactly. I remember that exact scenario. There was also another number in there, and I forgot all about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it's based off of currency liquidity in the global markets, the proximity of the country to your country. So the likelihood of you being able to do transactions. So if they're nestled on your border, like that's why I use the Canadian dollar and the peso, since they're nestled right on your border, that commission is going to be much smaller, because the chance of you being able to filter those back out to the marketplace somehow is going to be easier. It's going to take less effort on the part of the staff of the bank. And then the other thing that they take into account is, are you a customer?
Right.
Are you so it's this, and the bank type. Now in the Forex there's let me see, I'll count them up quickly. There's 9 banks that make up for 80% of the liquidity in the Forex market, meaning that they do 80% of the transactions. They are what's called the market makers. Okay, it's Deutsche Bank, USB, Citigroup, Barclays Capital, RBS, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Chase, and Merrill Lynch. So those banks have more power in the exchange world on Forex, but also when it comes to global exchanging, they tend to have a little bit more power. So the bank that you're actually exchanging at is also going to lessen or broaden that spread sum, and the commission rate will also fall based off of that as well, if they can get it off your hand. The one thing that I wanted to, some of the things like I got some of the currencies of the neighbors. So like the Jordan Dinar, it's the buy rate is a 1.3119 and the sell of 1.5555. That's a 15.966% is that spread. So it's not that much more over what you would get for like the peso. The peso was 12, and you're saying that. You look at the Kuwaiti dollar right now. If I went to go and give mine back to the bank, I would get $2.98 8.88. So 2.9888. They would sell it to me for 3.5684, or 16.24% difference.
Yeah, I thought, I guess, but then it's 16. So if you get dinged with a 10% commission, it's up around that 26%.
Yeah.
Really.
And these numbers are from Citibank. So this is from one of the major market players.
Uh-huh.
Now, I called my bank for giggles, and my bank is a regional bank. It has 6 branches, and they go, "Oh no, we only do the Canadian dollar, the peso, the euro, and the pound. We won't touch any other currency."
And there's no reason for them to. It's not like, it's not, people just really, there are a lot of smaller banks that may and have in the past, but the process behind the scenes is so much different than even is portrayed to them initially at that initial conversation, or that people realize. Because they can tell you anything they want, but the person that's talking has probably never done a transaction like this, so they don't know.
Yeah. So those spreads are pretty much fixed because it's based off of interbank transfers and certain ratios they do. But the area that you actually can negotiate is going to be the commission.
Uh-huh.
And that is actually based off of how much you're bringing in. If you're a customer, the size of the bank, there's a lot of variables. So it's individual. No one can really ever say for sure that you're going to get a fantastic rate or not. But I think that you're looking at right now the Kuwaiti dinar. I would say you're probably looking at the high end of that commission spectrum. So another 10% on top of that 16.24. So you'd be looking at about 26%. Is what you would give, unless you had a sizable enough quantity, you had a relationship with that bank, or certain factors were in play that you could actually use it to negotiate to your thing. Like maybe you went in there with a big enough quantity and said, "I was planning on opening a banking account with you." I think some of this is stuff that you could do when this event happens that we're looking to happen. When it happens, doing a little bit of time on the phone, calling, talking to the people in the currency department, explaining what you're doing, and try to get their hit on, approximately getting an idea for what their commission is going to be on it. It would probably save you some time taking a bunch of dinars to the bank to walk out.
Right.
The thing I think that people need to realize is that it's going to take a while for the banks to figure this out on a scale, especially smaller banks. I think that the bigger banks are going to be a better bet to go to because they have more international presence.
Right.
And that's the kind of, those are the kinds of things that I think about now, I've thought about for a long time, but I'm thinking about more and more because I really do, from the news that's out there, think that something is going to happen. Absolutely.
It
seems obvious to me. So,
yeah, we're right on the edge of something, whatever that something is. I think being part of a group like we are, a loose-knit group, gives you that you can choose to be part of or choose not to be part of, gives you a certain amount of, potential cover, so to speak, especially if you're a little guy. There are some very big groups out there that I'm sure are going to, and not like some of the goofy groups you've heard about on the internet. I'm just familiar with some friends of mine that have banded up together that have very, very big groups of currency, and that's all it's for. It's just for getting the very best deal when the time comes. There's no, hinky behind the scenes motive. They are familiar with this scene that we're trying to draw out. This is real world. This is not. This is research that you've done, and kind of like I'm telling people, have been for a long time. That seems pretty much right on the money, with the exception that I just, even with these numbers that they've quoted you, because these are the operative numbers of the day, I think it could go a couple of different directions. It could be a lot worse for us. Could be a lot better for us. It's very rare that they deal with a currency on this volume and this bulk.
Yeah, especially in the exotic realm.
Exactly. It's just not. I don't know exactly what their viewpoint of it's going to be, but it's usually when they're doing this, when they're handling this transaction, they get that higher fee for somebody that's buying $3,000 worth of pesos because they're going to Mexico. Or
precisely.
Somebody that's come back from Canada from a snowmobiling trip and they got $2,000 worth of money left over and they got to move it. Well, obviously the bank's going to want, it's kind of a pain in the rear end to do that. I don't know if they're going to, and the flip side of that is, now the other side of my argument is this, they may want a little something because there may be a pretty serious risk in this for them. I don't know. Those are some of the unknowns that we're going to have to face, and hopefully, and that's why I encourage everybody to get on the Deuce list, is because as we know this information firsthand, we will pass accurate, correct, firsthand information back to you and say, here's the picture as we see it today.
Yeah, and also remember that you don't have to go and cash everything in at once. We know that the expected, there's going to be time. It's not going to be like you're going to be given, X amount of days to get rid of all your notes and then your chance is going to be gone. If something like that rolled out, then you would be forced to make a move sooner. There's nothing that says, though, if it's going to be protracted over a couple of years, that you need to go out and you need to exchange everything right then. The whole thing is to try to maximize what you're going to ultimately hold at the end of the game. After you're done paying exchange fees and you're done paying Uncle Sam, what do you have left?
Well, here's a couple of thoughts to fold into your comments. Number one, well, several thoughts. Number one, Iraq's already said that these notes will coexist in the marketplace for 10 years.
Yes.
So you got 10 years, a minimum. Number two, if you exchange every single note that you have today, and I'm not giving advice. I'm just offering a hypothetical look at. But if you exchanged every single thing you have today, you're going to be liable for capital gains tax as of the fee structure that's in place today.
Yes.
Remember,
which is 25% on the federal level, and then whatever your state tax on.
How much is it? What'd you say on the
25% on the federal level, and then then whatever your state's going to tack on top the state's portion. And there's certain states, Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, Washington, Alaska. I think I'm missing one or two other ones that are just that don't have any state cap gain, so you're going to pay the 25%. And, and Mr. Trump has already, said part of his campaigning was the fact that they wanted to have he wanted to lower it 15 percentage points. So, however that's a campaign promise. My thing is that you don't need to be in a hurry to get rid of all of it, to spend it right now or to do anything when it happens. I think exchange rates will probably calm down as it becomes more accepted.
And the buy-sell market may strengthen up in the future. I doubt it gets weaker.
Yeah, I think eventually, based off of what some of the criteria that are stated as far as what it takes to become a minor currency, I think that they have a potential of eventually working up there, but I think that's a decade or more out. So I don't think waiting for it to ever get into that kind of a realm would be even practical at all for anybody. But I think eventually they have the natural resources, the variety of natural resources. The thing they would need is they would need a certain amount of financial stability over a period of time in order to be in order to start being picked up on that for that way. And then they would actually, I think they definitely have the potential with their resources. Well, an interesting thing I did find out is the place you don't want to go to exchange anything is a place like Travelex or any of those ones. Travelex quoted a sell price on the Jordanian dollar today of 0.6301, so 63 cents, when Citibank would sell that same thing, the same one to me for I'd get $1.55 for it.
Wait a second. You mean their buy price?
Their buy price.
Their buy price was 63 cents.
Yes.
So it's like what kind of haircut is that? Like 80%?
Yeah, because the buy price would be 131. So 131 basis 61. So yeah, it's 60 plus at least.
Yeah, without any fees or anything.
Yeah, so that they're not the kind of place to go to. So don't be tempted by that. And just do your homework. It's call somebody, talk to them when the time comes. I know some people are shy. I know some banks won't talk to people about this currency, about the dinar until after an event happens. But you can educate yourself by going to some of the exotic neighbors, and that's kind of what I did. Was I decided to really find out how that all would play out, and there's definitely a way to lessen the exchange burden on you by just
number one is my first commentary is that CBI said it'd be 10 years. Number two, anything you exchange as of today, you're liable for taxes as of today. And number three, along that same lines, is if it simply sits as Iraqi dinar, as far as I can tell, it's not an taxable event yet until you exchange it.
I've posed this question to my accountant, and he couldn't answer, and he was going to get back to me because he was going to talk to somebody who knows who's in international finance. Because I posed this question: is what would happen if I went to a bank and I exchanged it, but I exchanged it to a different currency? Because I was wondering if the exchange event itself has to be back into USD, or if I went to, say, to a euro or to a British pound or something like that with it, does that become a taxable event here in the U.S. right away?
My first gut tells me it probably is, and I'll tell you why. Because you've experienced gain. Whenever the gain shows up on paper is when you start paying.
That's true.
Whenever you, in almost anything, like if it's just if there's some esoteric event that's external that caused the value of that to go up, a piece of property, for instance, and even sometimes the IRS comes in and says, "Hey, we want something." I mean, I've literally seen this happen. They call it a ghost tax, and they use it in typically in real estate and major transactions where the value it goes up so rapidly and so vast, they force that person holding it to give them some money because it's normally in a real estate transaction, say you bought a house for $20,000 and it goes up to $100,000 over the course of 5 years. If you never sell the house, you don't pay taxes on that gain. But there are some places where they apply a goofy thing that really is completely unfair. And anyway, that's what it is. I doubt that they would ever apply that standard here. But it goes to my point. My third point was this: is you're not paying taxes on it until you exchange it. If you want to defer your taxes, which is half the tax battle, it's one is tax mitigation, but tax deference, that's a simple equation. There's a couple of ways to do that. One of them is you just, exchange what you need and breathe. Just relax. Take some time. Look around. See what the best deal is. Don't make a panic purchase because that's what it'll be. It'll be a panic deal. Anytime there's a panic deal, or as any sense of urgency on your part, you're not going to get the very best deal. It just won't happen. So fantastic information, Jay. Anything else? Any other commentary?
No, that's pretty much all I had gathered for tonight. I just wanted to kind of get some clarification on that for people, since there seem to be questions on it, and I want to try to answer those questions. So.
Well, and like you say, if by some miraculous turn of events that we get a rapid, speedy, a 15% cap gains implementation, having saved yourself, let's say you got couple million dinar, if you sit around and just watched it for a couple of years, your gain could be as much as 10%. Where are you going to go and manage your way to a 10% gain? There's no such thing these days. Hasn't been for some time. So essentially you don't lose anything. You're gaining the very strong possibility that you gain 10% in the first year. That's a big number.
Yeah, that's the thing is I've heard a lot of people, they seem to have shopping lists of things they're going to get. And my mindset is not at all there. My mindset is, how am I going to leverage this in the best way possible to actually build upon the value of what I'm going to get from this, and to the benefit of my family and future generations of my family. So only when I can answer certain questions and have certain things in place will I start buying things from that. And if I play it right, my hope is I'm only living off of the earnings of those investments, not the actual dollars that I put into this thing.
See, that's too smart. I have the shopping lists. I do. And they include a 2 or 3 year old used pickup truck. I'd like to get something nicer, and I'm looking for a new pair of boots. If I get those two things, that's it. I'm good.
Well, you're just being really frivolous there.
I know. I'm just spending money like it's going out of style. So, and that's my shopping list. Those couple of things is what I would like, and then I'm with you. I think the leverage is a good idea because, and the main thing that we can leverage, I'm going to bring this to the people because this is really critical. What are we going to do with Dinar updates once there's a change in value? Obviously, we've said we're going to be here. We're going to do the very best we can to be here. Number two, I have said over and over and over and over, the one thing that we've got that nobody else has got is information, real, hard, factual information. I do believe, my personal belief is that this new electronic trading platforms in Iraq is going to make more overnight millionaires than anything that's ever happened in history, and that includes the dinar. So I think that
that's true. I mean, if I read that one article right, and I read it through, that one paragraph was saying that they had a week-over-week gain. It was 156%.
Was that not a stunning number? I do recall what you're talking about, and I didn't even think about it until we're having this conversation.
And then they had I think it was 124 or 129% gain in volume. And someone and I kind of posed when I said it. I said, what does that mean? I mean, what has changed? And I tell you one thing that changed, right? Because stock markets are a psychological game. If people are feeling good, they're buying. If people are feeling bad, they're not buying. And what events happened last week that really could have changed the psychology of a lot of people in Iraq? And that was the reports of the east coast of Mosul being rid of of ISIS. Could it be one factor that would cause some people to want to?
I think it's the whole climate. It's them attacking corruption. People are feeling safer with their money. They're getting rid of they're getting rid of ISIS. They got Mosul halfway done. And, if the United States throws more support behind them, Mosul could happen a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And that's not out of the realm of possibility. I don't know what they're going to do. Every day is a new day here in America. So, fantastic call, great information. You know what? Let's do this. We got a couple of minutes. Do you want to open it up for some Q&A?
Sure. I'll try to answer things if I can.
Or both of us.
If not, I can get back to somebody.
Somebody, I got a question here. Do I have any insight on Baghdadi's status? I have no clue. It's too early. I heard reports going both ways on that, and, it would be ironic if General Mattis took him out in the first day he was in office, but I have no idea. Just seems a little bit.
Another report can be wounded.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was on the dailymail.uk. It was a pretty solid source, is where it originated, from what I can tell. But there was a lot of back and forth in the Middle East, which, by the way, is going to happen. They're just typically, that is just their MO. They're going to go back and forth about everything. So I hope that the Daily Mail is correct. Listen, I've got the Q&A, the live Q&A on. If anybody that wants to ask a question who's on the call, hit *6 on your keypad, and you'll be in queue, and I'll answer some questions. *6 on your keypad. Here we go. Let's go with the 904 area code. 904 area code. Thanks for calling. You are live.
Hey, BGG. Appreciate the call tonight, and our heart goes out to Robert and his family. I just wanted to say thank you to Jay for all his good information, but I did also want to bring up that we still have the option for the 1031 exchange, which is a way to take like-kind property and basically do a tax defer situation if somebody wanted to do that.
Nice. Good information.
I know that can be done on real estate. I did not think about applying that on something like an exchange.
Sure can.
So you'd have to actually. Okay.
And there
awesome.
are companies that are set up now that are more professional than to just go to an attorney and say, hey, I want to do one. So there are some good solid corporations out there that people can hopefully find in their area and just ask and prepare. I think
real good
the question
information.
is, what currency are you going to put it in? So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That was interesting. That's going to bear some investigation.
Yeah, I'm going to investigate some of that too, because because I thought that only applied to real estate. But I will definitely.
Well, that could be some substance for our next call.
Yeah.
Interesting. Next caller, 704 area code. Thanks for calling. You are live.
Hey, BGG, this is Claude, and the last person on the 1031 exchange. I know you can do that also with in the financial market. So it maybe later on some people can share the fiduciary that would be doing the exchange in the U.S. My question along those lines would be this. Could you take a loan against the asset being the dinar?
Actually,
so that would be my question.
I don't. You know what? I wonder. You might have to go several transactions deep. The reason I think I would be skeptical is, and I'm going to talk to Jay, defer to Jay, and I'm sure he's going to. I can see his wheels turning right now. He's ready to dig into this. I can hear it. The smoke is rolling on the phone.
And since I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, I think I'm going to go to the top of Bank of America and find me some people that might help us, Yeah.
B of A. They'll probably want. Anyway, I think that I'm skeptical that you could. I'm sure there's a way that you can take a loan against an asset. I don't know that you can take a loan against currency, though.
It would have to be secured in some manner, in some kind of a third-party holding, I would think,
right.
that if they wanted to do it, because they would want to make sure that you couldn't touch that thing. So it would probably have to get put into some kind of account that is managed by a third party so that you could use that. I mean, it's similar to kind of what they do with those. I think it would be something similar to what they do with like a self-directed IRA and stuff, is it allows you to leverage your IRA for stuff like that, but not. So I really couldn't answer that question if you could actually do that. But it would seem to me that it would have to be held in such a way that you wouldn't have access to it.
Correct. I would agree with you there.
I wonder if that's not the way.
Food for thought, guys.
Yes. No. Well, I was going to add a point here. I wonder if that's not the reason that life insurance can't loan you tax-free proceeds from an account that they hold, because they hold the account. You don't hold the account. You follow me?
Yeah, I'm following you. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that question.
Yeah. Another thing we're going to have to dig into. We have these
calls. And I'm 65, and I've been 40 years in the life market and financial, so I'm not going to go on record as we speak now. I am just throwing out some concepts, and I'm going to start actually finding out. I'll be happy to share as soon as I find out from the experts. It's above my pay grade.
Please do. Anything you bring, anything you can find out and share would be appreciated, because this is how we're all going to be able to maximize what we get out of this thing. Is everybody going out searching their own
right,
their own leads, and then bringing back that information to the group. I think is key to all of us becoming a wiser investor and a wiser at the exchanging when time comes.
Nice.
Thank you.
Excellent. Great info, guys. Appreciate it so much. We're going to take one more caller. 321, area code 321. Thanks for calling. You're live.
Hi, I'm down here in Florida. I'm a commercial real estate broker, and I've got a couple answers for both of those questions before. The 1031, I believe it excludes currency or paper notes, if my memory serves me correctly. I deal with 1031s all the time. But that's, obviously attorneys can do things we can't, but I believe that's what it says. Secondly, if you wanted to borrow against your asset, you borrow against a bond that's held with currency or reserve, like in a dollar. So let's say you had $2 million, you wanted a secured loan, you would put up the amount of money to purchase a bond, but they would hold the bond as collateral. So more than likely you would have to turn your currency into a bond-rated asset before you could borrow against it. But again, I have limited experience with that, but that's just what I've seen in the past.
Interesting information. Yeah, appreciate you calling.
Yeah. So my question is, does anybody know what the real estimated number of dinars are on the market? I've heard 30 trillion. I've heard 40 trillion. And if you look at their GDP, which is 256, 300 billion, somewhere in that area, if they did have 30 trillion and you divided the 30 trillion into the 0.00086, you end up with somewhere around 250 billion. So is there any way to try to understand how they're going to, one, pull all those off the market to increase the value? And two, do we have any idea of what the real number of dinars there are on the market?
My firsthand experience, having dealt with some people directly who would know, I've heard all the same numbers you have, but and again, I don't think anybody that comments publicly truly knows. There are people that throw these huge numbers around. There are other people that throw a lot smaller numbers around. And your question was, does anybody know what the true estimated accurate number is? Quite honestly, there's all kinds of estimates out there. I think some are probably more accurate than others, and that's all that anybody is going to ever have. I mean, I think even the United States, the USG doesn't give out a specific number of how much they actually have in float, in circulation. There was a limit to how much they ever printed. They've been removing these larger notes for some time. They haven't removed them entirely, but they have been extracting liquidity for quite some time. And then on top of all that, they've been destroying currency. They have been collecting up currency from Loop. You have come in with articles over and over and over where they've been currency that was some kind of ill-gotten gains. They've been bringing that stuff in just every single day. Agreed?
Yeah. I mean, they keep on getting more and more currency in. I've heard figures, and I've never heard anything really concrete as far as how much they have on. I know there's been a lot of damaged currency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and absolutely.
So
they've had to.
I think that anything. I think that. I guess what I'm saying is there's no way that I could possibly answer that question with any
I don't
degree
think
of
so,
accuracy.
not accurately.
And my basis on everything that I do is that I want to be as accurate as possible and only bring truthful information as I can see it from articles and stuff. And I really haven't gotten any kind of indication. I know that they're very concerned with note count, and I know that a lot of the processes that they put in place are specifically there to pull in those note counts, and that's why they're going to things like the smart card and stuff like that to try to really take that note count in. They're making people more and more state employees are having to go in and use those smart cards, and that's where they're depositing everything similar to what we do in the United States. I know that my paycheck comes in, gets deposited right in the bank account. My wife's check comes right into our bank account. Similar thing is that they want people to use the banks, but also that's also going to help them pull in note counts, I think. I think they're going to
probably cut changes that perspective.
And give a lot of liquidity to the banks that they really need right now in order to be able to do some of these things they're doing. So
well, this goes to the rate, right? So if it was me and I was the one going to do it, I'd start at let's say 8 cents on a rate. And then I noticed you mentioned something maybe 10% over a couple of years, but if they put it at 8, a lot of people would exchange at even 8 or 10 cents, right? And then that would pull a ton of them off the market. Who knows what number or percentage? But then what that would do is create scarcity, which would drive up the value. Is it reasonable to think that it could go from 8 cents to 80 cents in, a year, 24 months? Have you heard that?
I think it's very plain. If you read the documentation that they put out over the last several years, they have planned on this thing being $1. Now, how it gets there, by hook or by crook, their number that they project has been right in that $1 neighborhood. They're the people that have projected. Would it make sense to start at 8 cents?
I mean,
I don't know.
Believe that, or is that just me?
I don't think 8 cents is going to help them. It's going to help get them where they need to be. And like BGG says, everything the pieces of information the written ink stuff that we have kind of seen has all alluded to around that $1 range. But just over $1 or just under $1 is kind of like that Sigger report that clipping that snippet that you shared was that they're talking about just coming in just under $1, and then we've had other reports of them using it just over $1. So I think that that's kind of the target range for them, and it's about if they can get that note count down. I think that would help them a great deal. And we really don't know what's out there.
There's at least 4 different instances: the Sigger report, the Ministry of Planning, and at least 2 articles in the last couple of years where ALOC has plainly said, we want it to be equal with the $1. And you can look at a lot of there's tons of different translational things you can think of when you hear that, but the Sigger report was delivered to the Congress. We're pouring tons of money in there. Basically, they said around $1. Ministry of Planning, which is actually one of the official Iraq websites, they essentially kind of pointed to where they were looking at the valuation, and then several articles after that. Nowhere in there did they say 322, and unfortunately, nowhere in there did they say they would start at a low number like that. Now, does that mean they won't? Just not at all. However, I want to add one more point to essentially, I should have just went like this. The question that you're asking is almost virtually impossible to answer because nobody knows. Nobody has hard facts, and we want to stick with hard facts. But here is, I will share with you a direct exchange that I had. I have talked a little bit about a CBI contact that I have worked with in the past, directly, personally. And I will say this. They never did tell me directly and verbatim what they believe the external to Iraq amount of currency in circulation is. But they wanted to see where my head was at, and they asked me, what do you think is in circulation outside of Iraq? And my answer a couple of years ago, maybe it was 18 months ago, I said at that time, this was before all the blow up and all this stuff that's taken place in the last year is probably fantastic for Iraq. But at that time, I was a little bit skeptical about what these external numbers were and even the internal numbers. I just don't think it's anywhere close to what people imagine it to be. I think the real number at that time, I said I would bet the number external to Iraq is more like 6 trillion dinar. I don't know what that means in note count, but I said it wouldn't even surprise me, though, if the number was as low as 3 trillion. And the reason has to do with – what's that?
That would be awesome. I mean, that would be incredible.
Well, and listen, when I got done with my conversation, the first thing response back was they were much more comfortable dealing with me, and they said, you're a lot closer to right than you think you are. Never did they tell me what it was, but they asked me some pointed questions. They said, what do you think this is? And I said very plainly, I said, I think it could be 6, and it wouldn't shock me if it was low as 3. Because
let me ask you, if we know what their goal is, 800 tons or whatever it is, I can't remember off the top of my head, and that represents what, 5.7% of their foreign-backed currency, if I'm remembering right. I wrote this down a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what it is now, but we could kind of get. I mean, you're right. It's a guess. Nobody knows. It's
what it is, really. And I don't want to represent anything that I've said in the last couple of minutes as anything but my opinion asked by some influential people, and they were a lot more comfortable talking with me after that. In reference to in that same context, though, relative to the 3 and 6 trillion, part of the reason I believed it was that low is because people were going on and on about the massive amounts of money that were coming out of the United States going towards dinar. And I said, it goes back to my conversations a couple of years ago. I said, folks, listen, 85 or 90% of the money in the United States that went towards dinar just went in some dealer's pocket and never did go. It didn't change the actual currency note count or the circulation count, not even one iota.
Reserves.
It was all reserves.
Make it reserves. Yeah.
It's like 90% of the money, and everybody's like, "Oh, there's so much money, and there's so much money." I said, "It's funny money." And at that point, I'm not talking about the validity of the reserve. All I'm talking about is the simple fact that it didn't change the amount of currency in circulation. Number one, or the note count at all. Did not change that external number from Iraq. Didn't even move the needle. And that's exactly what I was saying. Now obviously we come to find out about the validity of the reserve later. Because you got some crooked dudes. But anyway.
Well, gentlemen, I'd like to just say thank you because, one, I don't have anybody to talk to about this kind of stuff, and it's just nice to actually have a conversation with somebody that has some knowledge that we can discuss it because it's, you try to talk to people about it, and one, they don't know, or two, they just don't want to know.
Fantastic. Appreciate you calling. Stay tuned. We're going to have another call, and we're trying to do some more Q&As. Have a great evening, and great commenters tonight. How about that, Jay?
Yeah, very good. Very good questions.
Smart. Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Okay. I think I'll wrap this up. I appreciate everybody who has supported Dinar Updates, everybody who gave to the Our Cooking Memorial Fund. Jay, thank you so much for being on here. Fantastic call. We'll try and do it again sometime. We probably need to look into some of that other stuff. I'm sure I don't even need to mention that to you. You're right now. You're making notes right now.
Yeah, I have notes written down.
for everyone out there who tuned in, thanks so much. Make sure if you're not on the Deuce list or you're not sure if you're on the Deuce list, tune into the blog or the Observer tomorrow, dinarupdates.com/blog, dinarupdates.com/observer. You'll get some up-to-date commentary, up-to-date real factual information. And on there, at the very beginning, I am going to post the information about how to, what is the our servers, the sending server that you have to add to your email provider to be able to get your emails. Because you're going to want to get these emails, and let's hope you're going to want to get these sooner than later. Don't wait till the last minute. And I'll get you that information. I'll post it tomorrow. Hopefully have some general directions on how to do that. Fantastic call. Stay tuned to Dinar Updates. We'll continue to bring more Dinar news, Dinar info, and Dinar commentary as we're able. Folks, have a great night, and thanks so much.